Welcome to the Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast, a show created to help painting company owners build a thriving painting business that does well over $1 million in annual revenue. I'm your host, Brandon Pierpont, founder of Painter Marketing Pros and creator of the popular PCA educational series, Learn, Do, Grow, Marketing for Painters. In each episode, I'll be sharing proven tips, strategies, and processes from leading experts in the industry on how they found success in their painting business. We will be interviewing owners of the most successful painting companies in North America and learning from their experiences. In this series titled Painter Turned Big Business Owner, Reyes of Battleborn Painting will be sharing how he has grown his painting company to over $5 million in annual revenue, and we'll be providing some creative options for other owners looking for explosive growth. In episode 1, we'll discuss the mental transition he made from painter to business owner and the hurdles he needed to overcome along the way. In episode 2, we'll discuss how to create a killer client experience that builds a repeatable and profitable book of business for your painting company. In episode 3, this episode, Will is going to outline some of the application tools, tricks, and styles to paint that have allowed his team to create superior results for their clients and earn an enviable reputation in his local marketplace. In episode 4, Will lay out his approach to employee retention and how maintaining key team members has allowed for sustained growth. And in the final episode, episode 5, Will is going to deep dive into how to think about adding other trades or widgets to your painting business. When is it a good idea, and when is it likely shiny object syndrome? If you want to ask Will questions related to anything in this podcast series, you can do so in our exclusive Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast forum on Facebook. Just search for Painter Marketing Mastermind podcast forum on Facebook and request to join the group, or type in the URL facebook.com/groups/Painter Marketing Mastermind. Again, that URL is facebook.com/groups/Painter Marketing Mastermind. There you can ask Will questions directly by tagging him with your question so you can see how anything discussed here applies to your particular painting company. What's going on, brother?
It's going down.
We are back.
Yes.
You still haven't worn the Painter Marketing Pros hat yet, by the way. I think you said you were going to wear it for the second episode. I still have yet to see you wear it.
Right. And let's do it.
Notice how I waited until we started filming before I mentioned anything.
Yes. Brilliant strategy, sir. We'll cover up the bald head here. We don't want to give too many of the fellas head envy here. There it is. It's a good
that looks
fit,
awesome.
Good material.
That looks awesome.
There we go. I'll just take my shitty logo and get rid of that. Here we go. This third one, obviously.
Dude, you're killing it, man.
Yeah, don't forget the shirt. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect. Representing. And then you got that jacket that Rochelle gave you.
This jacket right here sits back and holds a ton of sentimental value. That jacket will literally never leave my chair because every girl that comes in always puts it on because they get cold, and I always have ice cold in here, so they always grab that jacket and put it on. So it has become a very famous jacket in this office.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I've worn it a couple times, but I'm not a very cold person, so I usually just leave it sitting there, and then all the girls jump in here and they throw it on. So it's always been like, hey, throw me the Battleborn jacket, which we don't have any, but Rochelle was so kind, she made us ours. So much love to her.
Mm-hmm. I love it.
Yeah.
Cool, man. So what are we talking about today?
We're talking about painting a house, and a lot of people don't know this, but I was in the bar business for 10 years before I got into the paint business, and a lot of similarities. Everything comes down to a process and how you execute A, B, or C in the bar business, and same thing within a paint business. What I've seen in the past is most painters and most painting companies don't have a great system of executing a paint job, quality paint job, bad paint job, whatever you want to call it, paint job in general. Just like the bar business, every painter I've ever met has been the best painter. I can't tell you how many journeyman painter I know that are the best painter you've ever met. I thought myself for the longest time, I'm the best. I'll paint circles around everybody. Those thoughts have come and gone with me, but just like bartenders, every person you meet who is a painter is the best painter. They can cut the straightest lines. They can blow. They can spray. They can roll. They can, I don't care. I can use this brush right here and I'll cut in the straightest lines with my beard. I don't care. You can cut off a squirrel tail and I'll make it happen. I'll paint a, mustache on a cricket. And so Every painter I've ever met has always been the best painter. Very few painters I know were actually good painters. And the ones that I know are good painters don't have a really good way of sequencing what they do. They don't replicate what they do, so they typically what happens, like much like me, I was a painter for a guy, and he was from Louisville, Kentucky, and he's a greatest painter. Man, I'm the greatest painter in the world. I cut the stretch lines and business willing. No one ever fastest brush in the West. But he never taught me how to paint. He taught me what not to do, and I kind of just self-taught. A lot of good lessons came from him, and we're still friends, and we talk almost every day. So not saying anything negative. But Shane was he was a good painter, but he wasn't a great teacher. And so what we did here, we had a lot of that in the beginning where it's like we needed painters, but then they had their own way of painting. Every guy I ever hired was the best painter. It didn't matter what you had or what you did, but then we would start finding out guys weren't as good as they thought they were. They were just their biggest cheerleaders, Same thing with bartending. Every bartender I ever worked with, I'd say 98% of them were trash. They just thought they were good. So we had to create a system that would be something replicable and profitable was the biggest thing too. We found in the beginning, we used to go, all right, we're going to paint 3 houses this week. And I was proud. I would drop off 2 guys per house. All right, guys, started on Monday. I go drive over there Monday. You guys know what we're doing, everyone? All right, cool. Get them lined out for the week. And at the end of the week, I'd get 3 paychecks. After about a year or so, 2 years of doing that, not being super profitable, I was like, man, this is crazy. I'm bringing all this money in. But then when we looked at it, I looked at the numbers and I'm like, man, I'm paying 80 hours a house. And so when we started looking at it a little different, it didn't make much sense. I went to PCA, I think one of my first ones. I ran into Chris Berry, who's a buddy, and I asked him what his system was, and he told me, and I thought it was bullshit. So I tried it when I got home. He's like, I got 1 crew, and I put it on there, and we get the house done in a day. And I'm like, that's impossible. We tried it, put 3 guys on. It was a little faster. Put 4 guys on, a little faster. We got 5, 6, 7, 8 guys on a house. Things are going good. Quality wasn't what I wanted it to be. And so we needed to tone back. And we found that our sweet spot is 6 people in a house. So we paint 1 house in a day. If it's under 3,000 square feet, we can paint that house in a day. So we've got proper training, proper tools, proper job sequencing, which equals proper execution. And proper execution equals higher profits. So for people that want to know, and some groups I'm a part of, they know this already, our gross profit on an average job is anywhere between 68 and 72%. And so a lot of people shoot for 50%, which is great, and that's fine if that's going to cover your bills. But I don't fly in the back of the plane. I only fly first class. So that's not going to cut it for me. And people are going to say, you're bougie, you're arrogant. Sure, I'm all those things. I've worked too hard to sit in the back of the plane. I weigh 265 pounds. I'm 6'1". I'm wider than most chairs. So I don't ride in the back of the plane. So I had to figure out how to make more money so I didn't have to ride in the back of the plane. So if anybody's out there, let me give you some motivation. Don't ever ride in the back of the plane. We work too hard, too long, too hot, too cold. Painting wasn't one of these plush jobs where you're inside like HVAC most of the time or plumbing most of the time. We paint when it's blistering hot outside, and we paint when it gets damn cold. So anybody out there listening to this, you work too hard to fly in the back of the plane. So work your ass off and get it together.
Similar,
and so we came up with a system.
Yeah, similar concept to just kind of thinking profit first, right? With a business, like you have certain revenue and lifestyle goals that you want to achieve, and you need to manufacture it with how you run your business and how you're able to achieve that profit margin. And also, just before we fully dive in, Will, I wasn't really sure entirely what to expect of this episode. I'm super excited because we've never actually done this. Again, you're bringing a lot of firsts to the.
Well, I can tell you, I just wrote it all down this morning because I didn't.
Your system.
Yeah, because most of the time the stuff I do sits in my head, and then we execute it by training. This is the first time I've ever wrote down what we do, which is actually probably a good idea. And
I'm thinking you should have that.
Probably put it in our playbook. So anybody else, I will get this professionalized and make it look pretty and spell checked because, there's a couple hieroglyphs in here and some scratch and some things that only I can read and a couple foreign languages. But I'll get it up, and if anybody wants it, I'll send it to them. So, if they forget what we say or they don't want to listen through the whole hour that we talk, I'll have it in print for anybody that wants to talk about it. And so,
I love it.
if anybody asks, I'll have it here then probably in a month or so, because I'm got a couple of things I got to get taken care of first.
Cool, man. But yeah, we always focus on the business and the mindset and all those things are important, but we never actually talk about the actual, what I would call the widget, what's actually being delivered.
Right. Exactly. And that's so much of what education is, and whether it's through a PCA or a this or a that, we talk so much about money, and we talk so much about how you're spending it and the marketing and the branding. And I looked around, and this is something I've always talked about in the past. I've never seen anybody just talk about slapping paint against the house. You got a lot of painters. If you ask them, like, hey, how many mils did you put that on? They go, I don't know. I painted it 2 coats. You're like, well, okay, well, what does that mean? 2 coats. I can give you 2 windbreakers, but is that 2 coats? No, you got to put on 2 real coats. What does that mean? So for somebody like me that's, not the smartest guy in the world, I need a unit of measurement so I know how to hold myself accountable. And so, we do that, and we explain it in our sales process, and when we execute it, we do it there too. So, we can talk a little about how we do that. And so, for us, just about everything that anybody does in Battleborn has a script, some type of outline of how we need it executed, and that includes the crew. The boots on the ground, the employees, your guys, whatever name you want to give them. They all have an idea of what needs to get done and how it's supposed to be structured. And so, we've had a lot of people come through these doors, talk about how great they were, and I always promise them that, regardless of how long you work here, I promise that you'll learn more here in the small amount of time that you're here than you will in the last X amount of years you've been painting. And I've yet to have anybody walk in and say I was wrong about it. We've had people that quit to come back and shake my hand and thank me for the lessons. We've had people that, unfortunately, we had to let go, have come back and shake my hand and thank me for the lessons. And so we think we have a lot to offer, and hopefully people get something out of this podcast right here.
I love it, man. So I guess let's go through your typical project. What does that look like?
So a typical project for us, is so. Let me start by saying we have 2 crews. Our typical house we get done in a day. So we do 7 projects a week on average. We have 5 houses for the 6-man crew, and we usually have 2 houses for the 3-man crew. And then the 3-man crew on Fridays gets split up because we have one guy doing power washing throughout, for the houses for the following week. And then we have some touch up that needs to get done, or we need some help on a house to get done early for the day if the guys want to get knock off. And so we have a system that kind of works with everybody. We're not one of these companies where it's like, everything is so hard and so rigid. It's a little more fluid. So somebody's like, hey, you mind if I take Friday off? The other guys go, yeah, cool. We're going to have this. So we'll pull this guy. So we have a 6-man crew and a 3-man crew. And our 3-man crew is what I'm going to be talking about most of the time here. And so anything under 3,000 square feet, we usually put a 6-man crew on, and we can get the house done for the most part in a day. Now, I'm not talking about a 3-story house where you need a boom or you got to put scaffolding on. I'm talking about a very cookie cutter house, very straightforward, 3,000 square foot house. We're looking at 2,500 square feet or 2,000 square feet, and we got 1,000 square feet of garage, something like that. So, what happens is that our lead painter calls the night before and says, hey, I'm going to be out here tomorrow. These are your colors. Everything's good. And then he gets there about 10 minutes early before everybody else gets there. They go over the scope. They go over all the details. Any questions are answered. And as the crew is getting there, they start to do the walk around. And then our crew is starting to pull tools out, ladders out, all the things they need. And as they're walking around, it's a part of our system for our lead to introduce everybody on site, so that person knows who's painting their house. The other thing is that way our crew, our employees, our staff, They know whose house they're painting, so it's not like, oh, just the lady or the dude or the guy. It's Sandy's house or it's mine's house. So our clients like that everyone has their own first name basis. Our clients have a hard time remembering everybody's name, but all of our crew remembers the client's name. So they can go, oh, hey, Cassandra, hey, John, can I come through here where we got to pull the doors open or we got to yank it off or whatever. So it's a really good thing for us. So we're building that bond and that reputation with people. Right after our lead does that and the tools are unloaded.
Will, so your lead painter, he's getting there 10 minutes early, introducing himself, basically setting the stage. And I think we're talking about 1-day projects, but I'm assuming if it's more than 1 day, that's not the case on the second or third day. We're just talking about the first day right now.
Correct. And probably 98% of our projects are finished in a day. We don't like to take on a lot of products or projects that take more than a day because it starts eating into our profit and the way we do business. So if we have a 2-day house, it's got to be worth us to be there for 2 days.
I feel like a lot of people right now, are going to be feeling jealous or excited about what you're going to say. Here's a guy who's doing over 5 million saying he doesn't like to do projects that take more than 1 day, saying that he has a 70% gross profit margin. I mean, this kind of seems like the dream here, man.
I'm a part of a lot of groups, and when we talk about it, a lot of guys, you'll get the guys who are like, no way, it's impossible. And I go, okay, cool. And then every week I'll take pictures and I'll send over the numbers and they go, oh, really? How? And I go, well, it's very specific to my area. A lot of things you can't do in certain areas of the country. Like, for instance, if it's very humid where you're at, this is probably not going to work for you. Our system won't work for you. It'll make you a better painter and it'll give you a better edge, but it's not going to work for you because a lot of times paint won't dry in states like Florida, and right there on the coast. So it won't work. This is for areas that paint will dry and you can apply it in the correct manner, and then you don't have to worry about it running off the walls if you put too much on.
Slapping wet paint on wet paint.
Right, exactly. So, in Nevada, it's dry. I mean, we can spray a wall, come back, and it's already tacking up, and then we can shoot it again if it's not already completely dry because there's just no moisture in the air here. I mean, you get off the plane and you get into Nevada, Reno, Nevada. I mean, you got to put lotion on your elbows. It gets dry here real quick. So for us, we're lucky in that manner, and so we get all that, right? So, our guys get to the job, and you'll hear guys that listen to me and go, impossible, he's an idiot, he doesn't know what he's talking about, and that's cool, bless your little hearts, but this is what works for us, and I'll walk you through it. So after our lead gets there, he pulls, we just do a quick take a knee with our guys and go, hey, everybody pile or, gather up. And, we set the tone. Hey, this is Mrs. Johnson's house. These are the colors. This is where they go. This is how we're going to execute it. And then our process is this for the 6-man team. Our lead has already given everybody a job. Okay, hey, Victor, hey, Tony, you guys are going to be in charge of shooting out the house. And they go, okay, cool. Rest of you guys, we're going to keep bagging after they get into a pump. And then once you get off, I need, A, B, and C on trim. And then D is going to be on accents, or whatever that's going to be, right? And so we've set the tone of the job, right? So we've got the sequencings all ready to go. And then the proper execution. So we start the paint job and, 6 guys start on one side of the house and, everybody's equipped with the tools. You've seen guys or you've seen painting companies where, you got 3 or 4 guys in there and there's like 2 maskers, or they're using the 9x400 box plastic and then, they tape around the edges of the window and then they throw the plastic and they got to cut the plastic. Well, we found that everybody having a masker, the time you're saving is insane. Then you'll get somebody who says, oh, well, the tape's, expensive, and we're using only blue frog tape, which is $4 a roll or $3 a roll, whatever it is. So I get it. I understand that stuff is expensive. Sundries do add up, but that's why, you put it in the cost of the paint, you add it in there. So as long as you're adding it in there, that shouldn't be a problem.
Goes back to the sales process.
Correct. I've talked to painters in the past. That's impossible. You can't do that. You take your car to the shop. They go, it's $400 to fix the car. Okay, no problem. Then you get there and they pick it up and they go, oh, we had to diagnose something else that was another $150. And then you see that little fee in the bottom, shop fees. That's all it says, $25. and you go, or $75. Hey, what is this? Oh, that's for all the little things that, we can't account for. Rags, butt connectors, tape, this, that. And people go, okay. And they just pay it. So that's one way to add it into your cost if that's what you're worried about. We don't. We give one price, and that's the end of the story. And then we move along to the next sales opportunity. And so we're not worried about that. So for each one of our guys that work for us, after you get hired on and you get past the what's it called, I guess orientation, you get outfitted. So once you start with this, you got a test, I guess is kind of what it is. We road test you, make sure you got what it makes. And really, we're just seeing if you can handle and work the crew. You can do all those things, you got to show up in the 5-1, we'll provide everything else. Once you get hired on, you get equipped with a list of tools. You have to have a paper masker, you got to have a plastic masker, right? You got to have a caulking gun, you got to have a 5-in-1, you have to have a knife in that. You get a 2-gallon bucket in a grid, you get a 4-inch roller, and then you get a 3-inch sash, right? So you have all that stuff, right? A block sander goes in your back pocket, and then depending on where you're going to be, you have to you get a 4-foot ladder, or you get a 6-foot ladder, right? On the job site, all the trucks have the ladders, and so wherever you're going to be, and we start on one side of the house. Now we started on one side of the house. You got 6 guys on one side of the house, right? And we got one guy masking the fence, right? He's running duct tape, running the paper around the fence. We got a guy pulling back all the rocks against the stem wall, or pulling the bushes back, or putting protection on there, right? And we've got a guy on a window. Well, if you walk up to a window, you got to caulk that window, prep that window, and you got to mask that window before you walk away. You don't get to just caulk that window and then, okay, I'm going to come back and then I'm going to caulk all these windows. And then when I'm done caulking all, and then I'm going to come back and mask them all, or I got to scrape, or this or that. No. When you walk up to a window and the frame is there, you're scraping what needs to be scraped. You're scraping what needs to be scraped. You're sanding everything needs to be sanded, right? Right.
It's business and personal, man. It's one and the same for an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I can tell you. If anybody knows, everyone knows, man. When your kids come to the shop, it's always going to be something that goes on. And so my daughter comes in a pink dress, and like, there's nothing I can do. She can have whatever she wants. I don't care. She's So back to what I was saying. So everyone gets their tools, and when you walk up to that part, you don't get to move 3 feet until that whole section is completely done. So if you have a man door that's peppered up, you got to sand it down. You got to get it caulked. You got to paper it all out and get it ready. Pull the feather stripping on it. If you pull the door handles, pull door handles. If you don't, mask the door handle and get that door ready. You don't walk away from that area until that's ready for paint, right? I see so many guys just do a little bit and then come back to the beginning, and do a little bit and come back to the beginning. And I was one of those guys. You go out, and me and 2 guys, I would start painting a house. We'd do a little bit at a time, then come back and start over. But it didn't make any sense. I was already there. I already went up a 20-foot ladder. So I didn't need to go back down to mask it. So everyone's got to carry all these tools on them at all times, right? So if I pull somebody, go, hey, I need this done, we need to get started painting, they have all the tools on them. I don't have to worry about them looking for the master, looking for their caulking gun, looking for their 5-in-1. And so all of these things just become an instant, right? So you look down one side of the house, and within 10 minutes, that house is ready for paint. Bushes have been tied back. Rocks have been pulled back, and we dig it away with a hoe against the foundation, the stem wall. All the windows are caulked, prepped, and ready to go. And you're going to get guys go, oh, you can't do that because the tape's going to stick to the caulking. We've never had a problem with it. Oh, the caulking isn't dry. You can't use that. Use QD. QD 1040 from Sherwin-Williams dries in X amount of time. I think as soon as you finger it, you can paint it. No problems. So there's an answer to everything, but there's always going to be somebody out there that tells me how I'm doing it wrong. Well, I've been doing it X amount of years, and as soon as you can throw your paycheck next to mine, we can have a conversation. So then have a Coke, a smile, shut the fuck up, and learn something.
Yeah, man, that's interesting, because you think it makes sense, and it does seem to be the more natural way to go and do the activity. Like, hey, we're going to caulk all the windows. That's what everybody does. But I think especially when you get up ladders, it becomes really obvious. Like, hey, going up and down and moving around, and it's all these, it's like silent killers, like a time assassin. You move in between all this stuff, you don't even realize how much it adds up until you move to a system like what you're doing here.
Oh, the seconds add up to hours so fast, you don't even know it. If we need you to go up and start prepping fascia board, and you're in a prime bucket, you're walking up there with a sander, 5-in-1, a block sander, electric sander, block sander, and a 5-in-1, you know, a razor, and then you're in the prime bush. You don't just walk up and scrape it all and then go back and get your prime bucket. No, that doesn't work with us. You go up one time, get that primed, then your painter's coming behind you and getting that all done with the top coat, right? And so these are like the small things that people don't think about. And I was one of those people. I didn't think about that. I was like, I'd get in there and like, you know, it's all good. We're good to go. And you keep moving, right? And that's how you make your money.
So Will, with knowing that, there are going to be listeners and people who say you can't do it that way or it's wrong or whatnot, have you ever had pushback internally? So painters work for you, not wanting to do it or trying to correct you on the process.
Oh, I can't tell you how many times I've had a new guy come in and we always ask him like, hey man, do you know how to do A, B, and C? Oh, I got this. And we go, okay, cool. And then we go, okay, you want us to show you our way or do you want us to show your way? And they go, we go, you know what? How about you show us something new? You'll teach us a little. And then they'll go out there and my guys will, kind of giggle and laugh and go, okay, hold on. Let me show you how we do it. And then you'll get guys that go, oh, wow, that actually is a little better, a little faster. I only have to go up the ladder one time. Well, yeah, if you're going to go up there and prep the window, why wouldn't you bring your maskers, everything you need? You can leave your paper masker at the bottom, run up with your plastic, your blade, and your 5-in-1, get it prepped up, sanded, caulked, and masked. Why would you walk up more than once? I don't know. That's how I've learned. That's how I was taught. That's how I've always done it.
That's how I've always done it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how I've always done it. How many times have you heard somebody there just take it to the grave? Well, that's how I've always done it. Well, that's how you always done it. Doesn't mean there's not a better way. Sure, it works. I'm not saying what guys do don't work because it does. Houses get painted. Or there might be a way, and I might be a little crazy, that you'll make a little more money if you do a couple things that I talk about. Outfit all your guys with the tools they need. You don't have one masker. Have 2 maskers per person. Oh, they're about 100. What is that? I think for one's like $56. For less than $120, I got 2 maskers, and you'll make that on the first job, just saving time. Your guys walk around with a ladder, paper masker, plastic masker on there, 5-in-1 in their pocket, blade in the other side, caulking gun hanging off their hip or on the ladder. I can tell you, you're just printing money when you do that. So we get our guys in there and we get one side within 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on the house, sometimes 30 minutes on the house, and that gets masked out, right? Man, can you imagine that? One side of a house ready to go. I can't tell you how many times I've got people in there just blown away. We hired a new guy 2 weeks ago. He tried out with us a month ago. We said, you're great. We have a lot to teach you. Really? I thought I was doing well today. I said, you're doing great, but we got a lot to teach you. I said, what'd you think about today? He was like, what the best thing was? Everybody just knew the job because I didn't have to tell anybody. I didn't see you yelling at anybody. This is one of the times I was on the job. And so you have to tell anybody or, oh, hey, come back and do this. Because everybody just knew the job. And I said, yeah, that's how it works. And so, he was somebody we were kind of after and came on board. And first weekend, man, I can't believe it. This is so refreshing. Everybody knows their job. And, I'm learning this guy never sprayed with a big pole. Like I know guys that spray with just the gun. On our job site, if you can't spray with a 6-foot pole, you're not a spray guy in our job. So, you get a 10-foot ladder, right? Average guy, 5'10", 6 feet we'll call. And you got a 6-foot pole, guess what? You can spray 20 feet top to bottom. People don't think about that. Oh, you can't do that. You're not going to get the quality. Well, I do. We paint 7 houses a week. So if anybody has any questions, Reno, Nevada, come on out to see Willie and we'll learn you up if you want to say we're doing it wrong. I mean, we've got more than enough reviews to say how good the job is doing. People don't even realize a 6-foot pole. It's too hard. It's too heavy. It's out too far. My arm can't do it. We do it every day. We really do.
I'm going to go a little out in left field here.
Sure.
But I can, because it's my show. So people got to listen.
Please.
If they want to listen to the podcast.
Please. Yeah. These are my toys.
Right. There was a storage unit that I used to drive by and they had a cutout of a security guard, which I thought was kind of weird. They would have him like the 2nd story window. And it's clearly a cutout, clearly not a real person, of a security guard with like a flashlight looking at you. And I think I was like, well, there's probably, I mean, it's like a U-Haul storage unit. It's probably a psychological factor there. Just reminds people like, hey, there are, consequences if you try to break into storage units and get caught. But I feel like at the next PCA Expo or the next one of these events, you should come like with a cutout of what your guys look like the 10-foot pole, the whole thing. We'll have them just stand there and be like, this is what every one of your painters needs to look like.
You know what? I think that's a good idea.
It would be
That's a
amazing.
great idea. Just have a full, just decked out, 2 maskers, a gun, 2 blade,
The
501, a
10-foot
blade, and
pole
a
just way up
6-foot
in the
pole.
air.
Yeah. Just like if you can't paint 20 feet off an 8-foot ladder, 10-foot ladder, then you ain't for us. So, but like when
Are
I say
you
this,
Battleborn ready?
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Are you Battleborn ready? That's a great thing. I'm gonna write that down. Actually, hold on, please.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure.
We're gonna create a second business here for you. We're gonna get you like a vendor space, and we'll just be selling like outfitting.
I think it's a good idea.
painters.
Yeah, we'll bring in your guy. You a painter? Are you a painter? Oh yeah, I'm a painter. Get in here.
Get it? We're gonna suit you up.
Put on all the weights and then throw a quick story. I used to walk around with a 20-pound vest just for exercising. I would paint.
Yeah.
Whenever I'd get my guys, I would always, they would always ask, "What are you doing that for?" I'm like, self-punishment. Who knows? And I would always give it to them. Here you go. And they'd always grab it and just hit the ground. That's what you had on your back all day long? I go, yeah, I climb ladders with that. And they go, why? I'm like, because I can. Yeah. So that's like one of those things. We can get somebody in there, deck them out with all the tools, ladder, pole, and then put a 20,000 vest. And when they ask, you can go, that's above your pay grade. That's the next level. That you got the free. That's the light. That's the premium package. Can't tell you why.
I love it. They'll be Battleborn ready. Yeah.
Exactly. Battleborn ready. What is the 20-pound vest? If you got to ask, you can't afford it. Sorry, guys.
That's right.
So, these are the tools that would make life easy. And I can't tell you how many times I've met somebody that's had 10, 15, 20 years experience, never put a pole, a 2-foot, a 3-foot, a 4-foot, or a 6-foot pole in their wand. But when I say it, it makes sense now. And there's a lot of guys out there that do it. Yes, I've used a pole. I use a 3-footer. That's all I use. Or I only use a 4-footer. Our vans carry the 3, 4s, and 6. So we have them all, and it just depends. But for the most part, the guys grab the 6 the most because they can get more done in a single pass than anything else. So think about it. If you can paint 2 more feet higher, you got a house that's 15 feet tall. You jump on your 6-foot ladder, you're 6 feet, there's 12, and you got a 6-foot pole. You're on an A-frame now. You're not on an escalator. You're on an A-frame. That thing slides a lot faster. You got your back roll guys sitting there, bunny hopping your A-frames, and you're just painting along. I mean, just painting along. So those seconds add up to hours before you know it. You got 6 guys standing around, and they're waiting on the spray guy to get past this or that. And you get 6 guys standing around for just 10 minutes. You've burnt an hour. Our average job size, and I can tell you this because I've got it written down here because it's in my book, but our average job last week was $148 an hour. So if I get 6 guys that stand around for an hour, I just lost $150. Can you imagine that? Do that once a day for a week. How fast that adds up. So when I tell people like efficiency is how you make money, not how good you are or not how fast you can run. Efficiency, one step to get everything done per, the whole entirety. If you're doing a window, that's one step. You're doing a sliding glass window, you got to mask it from the side, not the top and bottom. There's all these small little things that a lot of great painters know, and I'm not reinventing the wheel there. And I'm sure there's other painters out there that do exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm the one here yip-yapping and jaw-jacking about it. So I want to share with as many people I can.
I feel like
if I can raise our trade 5%, because we're not a cheap painting company because of what we can offer people. I don't have to tell my clients, hey, you got to lock up your dog for a week. Oh man, I got to kennel him for a week, or I got to find out who's going to watch him. I only have to inconvenience you for one day. Can you imagine how much we get just for that? People are like, one day? How's that possible? And we walk them through the system. Okay. We only collect a $500 deposit. You pay the balance at the end of the house when you're happy. Okay. No real risk. I don't need 25%. I don't need half down. I don't need 25% and then another 25% when we power wash and then another 25% when we start. And then no, I collect $500, put you on my schedule, and you pay me at the end. Okay, great. I'm only there for a day. So I'm making money. I'm not financing jobs for a week, hoping I got enough to cover payroll for a lot of these smaller guys. You know how they're working hand to mouth. And there's nothing wrong with that. I was there too. I completely understand having to pull money out of your own savings account to cover payroll, right? But isn't it great that I don't have to worry about that ever? I don't have to worry about that. When I start a job that day, I'm done that day. You know?
Yeah, I think
there are guys out there, they stay on jobs. Red Reddington, you know, one of my favorites, and you know, the godfather of painting, you know, got his hat right here. I mean, he's on a house for 6 months. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the cookie cutter guy, you know, the blue collar guy. I ain't doing the fancy stuff. I'm not Zach Kenny doing the 5 paints of Europe, you know, charging X amount, all types of craziness. I'm the boring guy. I do the same house. I want the same house every day. You know, our concrete division, our guys they love doing the metallic. I love doing the same garage every day. Our system to do a same garage is 12 man hours. Can you imagine that? I can get a job. Our average job size is $3,800 on a garage floor. I get it done in 12 hours. Do the math on that. I want the same job every day. I'm not trying to be special. I ain't trying to do Victorians in San Francisco charging, you know, $500,000. I'm good. I want the same little house every day. And we have a system that works with it, you know, and it really works well. You know, once we start, I got my notes right here, so I'm trying to make sure I go through and give everybody as much as I can. I know we get sidetracked because, you know, we start, you know, yip-yapping here. You know, once we get started on the job, every crew member walks the house. We start preparing the house like we've just been talking about. Cool, I'm past this part of my notes. I got to go on the next set of my notes because, you know, I start to get yip-yapping here. You know, after we get done with that one side of the house, 2 people drop into paint, right? And they start painting what we just prepped up. The rest of the guys are moving along with the paint, and these guys are, you know, doing the full paint. We paint 2.8 mils or greater. If anybody wants to get in a conversation about, you know, you're not putting enough paint on, cool, great. Let's grab the data sheets, you know, and we can look at what we're really putting on. Every house gets painted with 2.8 mils or greater, which every paint manufacturer says is 2 coats. You know, they don't ever walk out there and go, did you put 2 coats on? I need a video of that. No, they pull the paint out the house if it fails, which I've never seen paint fail. Well, actually, I've seen it fail twice. And then they measure it. And when they measure it, as long as they have their 2.8, they'll back up the paint. 2 failures I've ever had. Once was with Sherwin-Williams on the quick dry. It somehow cracked 2 weeks later after I painted it. They had a bad batch. Sherwin-Williams is great. They paid me to go out there and repaint the whole house because it was every crack in the house. I couldn't feather it in. And then we had a real funky situation with some elastomeric. You know, it was weird. You know, it didn't lay out even. And Sherwin's like, it's too hot. Now it's too cold. And then when we came back with all the data and showed it to them, they took the test and they said, okay, they paid us $15,000 to repaint this guy's house.
Yeah.
So those are the 2 paint failures I've ever had. Other than that, I've never had those problems. I don't have it. Doesn't happen. But Sherwin-Williams has always been great. You know, they've always been a good partner with us and working with us. So we're always happy with that. So we got one side of the house has been painted. 2 guys drop into paint. The rest of the guys keep moving. After the house is completely painted or prepped out, bagged out, and ready to go, some guys get into trim, some guys get an accent, and then they, you know, some guys get into whatever specialty. You got to do the mailbox or whatever, front door, whoever, you know. Once we get done painting the house, our average time to shoot out an average house of about 2,000 square feet is 2.5, 3 hours. I know you're going to get somebody out there that says it's impossible. No way. You guys are skipping steps. I promise anybody to challenge me. You think I'm skipping steps? Come out here. Spend a couple days with us. I promise you'll learn something because we don't skip the steps. You know, it's just all we're doing is making everything efficient. I'm not taking 3 trips when I can take 1. You know, I don't have to move the ladder up 2 more rungs because I've got a 6-foot pole in there. So I went from a 4-foot pole to a 6-foot pole. Well, I mean, imagine that a house 15 feet and you could only get up 12 because you're in a 4-foot rung or in a 4-foot pole. Well, guess what? I'm just doing that much faster than you. So yeah, our average house to paint it out is about 2.5, 3 hours. Those guys get done. That guy, you know, the sprayer or whoever, you know, the back roller gets clean in the pump. and then whoever doesn't clean the pump drops in to start cleaning up behind it, right? They go through, make sure there's nothing else that needs to be sprayed or touched up and get missed on the house. They walk around, and then that person will get into cleanup, right? They start pulling plastic from, the stuff they already finished the side. But this time, the side we started spraying on is already done. It's already done. It's been painted. The trim is done. Accents are done. And then that guy's in there pulling trash, getting the garbage cans all filled up and, dragging it around. Once that guy's get done with the pump guy walks around and he gets into the touch-up. He starts looking for the smaller stuff, under the lip, for the door handle, that get perfect, and all these small little things. And they just chase around each other around the house until the house is done. Our guys, we have a 2-man touch-up crew. So two guys randomly, whoever the lead picks, it's not always the lead. It's not always the spray guy, because we like to mix and match, because they haven't been getting nose blind or, snow blind in the house. They walk around the house. They look for everything they can touch up. They'll throw a piece of tape on, or they'll, tag it with the trim brush so we don't forget it, or, we make sure we see it, and we'll go through and touch all that stuff. But by the time we've done our touch up, and we probably do 2 or 3, we'll walk around it this way, walk around this way, jump on the top, make sure it's all good up there, get that thing going. We go to the client, and then we ask the client, "Hey, Ms. Jones, you ready for your touch up?" And they go, yeah, we're ready. We've got the house cleaned up. We've got a paintbrush and body. We got a paintbrush and trim and whatever the accent is. So we walk it with our clients, make sure they're 100% happy with the house. Touch ups usually last 5 to 7 minutes, and we're not one of these people that, try to explain something away, or we hope they don't find something. I want them to find something. I want them to find as many things as they can. That way I don't have to come back in a week, right? But if we do, that's fine too. It's a part of the cost. It's a part of the business, and we do that. But we want people to be picky, particular, a pain in the ass. We want those things. A lot of painters don't want to deal with that, but we enjoy it, because then I know when we get done with that, that person is going to look at my crew and go, "Thanks, guys. Thanks, Gonzalo. Thanks, Tony. Thanks, Joey. Thanks, Victor." And they're going to ask 2 questions, what we always ask at the end of the crew, or at the end of the job. We say, "Hey, did we earn a good review?" And they're going to say, "Absolutely." And then we're going to look back to them and go, "We just need to collect final payment." We only collected $500. That doesn't even cover the paint. As soon as we step on the job site, we're already in a deficit. So we have to get the job done. So that is our process right there.
I love it. I think when you brought up the client experience, that was huge. And I wanted to make sure we touched on that, because that's a big deal. People don't want you guys there forever. They want you there minimally as possible. So you being able to do it in one day is huge. Can be a huge part of the sales process, and a huge part of the review process. Wow, what a hassle-free experience that was.
Oh, I can't tell you. It's one of the, it's a focal point. We let them know, like, "Hey, we're only going to be here a day," and we go through the whole process. And when and this is a little different when we're talking about today, but in the sales process, we zone in on that. Like, okay, and you got another guy in there coming out, and oh yeah, they're going to do it for this amount less, and okay, and how much less are they? Oh, $500. And are you boarding the dog? Oh yeah, I got to board the dog every day. What's that costing you? Oh, about $600-700. So it's costing you more, or oh, it's about $200 or $300. Okay, but then you got to pick up the dog. You got to load it in the truck and drive it down to the kennel place, and you got to pick it up at the end of the day and back and forth. So once they start seeing these things that they thought didn't matter, like, "I don't care, they're just outside," and like, "Well, hold on, we are outside, but I need the front door to be unlocked because we got to paint that. I need the man door to be unlocked because we got to paint that." If they got a slider in the back, that can stay locked, or if they got a regular man door in the back, that's got to be unlocked. So they're like, "Oh, the house is exposed. Well, I don't want to leave it exposed all week long." Even though all of our guys are, background tested, drug tested, they're all clean. We go through a whole process, make sure we're not sending any criminals or predators or anybody of that sorts right there. But people are still going to think, it's just human nature. Like, I don't want to leave my house open for a week, or, and that's, and I don't blame them. Who would want, do you want to leave your house open for a week where people you don't are coming in and out? No. But a lot of people are more, accepting of, okay, I can take off one day of work, or I can work from home. These guys are in and out, and the house is completely painted, and it's painted correctly. Because I know it's going to be painted correctly because they explained it to me, and their reputation online says everything that you told me in person is going to match up. The crew shows up, they do everything I'm going to say they're going to do, and they're friendly, they're shaking everybody's hand. it's a win-win for everybody. So I would suggest anybody listening to this saying Will's an idiot or you know what the fuck he's talking about. He's a yahoo. He's a loudmouth. I'm all those things. I promise you. I agree with you. I'm all those things. But try just some of it or all of it. And if it doesn't improve your money making, then you can come and kick me in the face. Fine with me.
So I have two things. First is I would assume this creates more accountability within the crew, because if someone's up there like caulking a window and then somebody's up masking it, and I mean, I feel like it's easier to start to point fingers if something goes wrong, if a bunch of people are touching a certain area and prepping it, than if one person's just fully accountable for it. Has that been your experience with this?
So this is two parts. So yes, in the beginning we were like, hey, who prepped that window? Who bagged out that window? That was so and so. Okay, hey, get over there and get it fixed. Now it's to the point where we don't have that often. And when there is a miss, whoever up now, it's protocol. If you see it, fix it, and then we'll talk to that person. But we don't do because we were creating a second step. And everything is about efficiency with us. So I can be efficient about painting the house, but if I start going, oh, hey, Vic, you didn't mask off that elevation change. Well, Vic's got to go back there and do it, right? Well, as if Tony is the one telling him, Tony's up there. The only way he knows is because he's up there, prepping something this or that, or he's doing a prime job or whatever it's going to be. Well, if he's already there and he sees it and it needs to get done, guess what? Now it's his job to get it done. Now, once it's done, then he comes back and says, hey, to the lead, hey, Vic didn't get this. We need it done. Hey, Vic, this wasn't done. You got to keep an eye on it. Don't let me catch you not doing it. And the next, 3 elevation changes, make sure you get it. Because sometimes the guys just forget it, or they get wrapped up, or they get zoned out, or what have you. But we don't create extra steps. But you're right. It does hold accountability because we knew who was there. But we don't create an extra step sending that person back to fix it.
Sure. So now let's get into kind of a bigger question here, because a lot of people listening use subcontractors, right? And I guess depending on how you compensate them, whether it's a percentage of the project or whatever that arrangement looks like, you're able to fully control the process because you use W-2 employees. For somebody who uses subcontractors, I could still see there potentially being benefit here in terms of training them.
Massively.
The subcontractors being able to do it faster, you potentially being able to pay them a little bit less, and while they still make more money. What are your thoughts on that?
So it's two parts, right? You're paying the subcontractor. You're actually paying him more if you adopt the system and it's applicable in your area. The subcontractor actually gets paid more. And let me explain why. Because now he's using a job that would have took 70, 80 hours. So if you have a subcontractor, he's like, no problem, Brandon, I'm gonna get this house. I'll have it. We'll start on Monday. We'll have it done by the end of the week, right? Well, that's 80 hours. That's 80 hours. Think about that. 80 man hours. Well, that's not very profitable. If you're a subcontractor, you're getting paid an X amount of rate. Okay. Now, if you can get that same job done in 50 hours, you've just saved 30 man hours. So you're getting paid more. You don't have job fatigue, which is a real thing. We have things that mitigate that stuff. Clients aren't allowed to be on the job site while we're working. You're more than welcome to pop out. We'll stop the work, questions it, but you can't be on there while we're actively working. It's in the contract. So if anybody has a problem with that, put it in your contract. Cannot be on the job site while actively working. Well, it's my house. I totally understand and I appreciate that. I can respect that. But this is a job site. Our insurance doesn't cover you slipping and rolling your ankle on one of our tools. And we leave them all around because we're running back and forth. So now people don't want to be on the job site. So that's for people there. So if you're a subcontractor and you're spending, 60, 70, 80 hours and you can get these jobs done in under 50, you've just given yourself a pay raise. Imagine that. You just gave yourself 30 hours of a pay raise. If you're a subcontractor and you've got 6 guys and you've got to spread across 3 jobs, try lumping them up on a job and running it. The sequencing is very important. I can't tell you how important sequencing in a job is. Proper training and making sure everybody knows where they're supposed to be at, have all the tools ready for them. This is not a thing where you go, I put 6 guys on a job, well, and it didn't work. Well, did they all have 2 maskers, a cocking gun, and 5-in-1, a blade? Did they have all the right tools, a bucket, a 4-inch roller, for all the trim work they're going to be doing, and a brush? Well, no, we only have 3 rope maskers and, 2 of them are plastic and 1's paper. Like, okay, well, then that's not going to work. You got to have all the tools for that. You can't call me up, but you got to have all these tools. And then if it doesn't work, then call me. And then we can have a conversation. If you don't, I'll roll up a newspaper and hit you upside the head with it until you come correct. So that's going to work for subcontractors. That's how they make more money, right? Now, if you're the person selling the job, you're making more money because now instead it's just giving that guy 3 jobs a week with his 6 guys, you can give him 5 a week, right? So now you just up your production for the week. So you're like, I can only send this guy 3 jobs because that's all I can do. Well, now I can send this guy 5 jobs. I can sell 2 more jobs a week. So now you're making more money and your sub's making more money. So it's a win-win.
And you can probably charge more because now you're getting the project completed faster. You can pitch.
Well, we charge more. I mean, I told you what our GP was, and that wasn't by accident. It's not a mistake, or it's very methodical and it's very thought through. So yeah, it's a definite benefit. You look at somebody like, well, they're $1,000 less than you, and you go, well, I totally understand. And you go and measure the apples, and you find out they're giving you oranges, and then you go into the production side. Well, how long is it going to take them? Well, they stay here 4 or 5 days. If they have to finish on Saturday, they'll come on Saturday. They're okay working Saturdays, won't charge me extra. Well, I'm only going to be here a day. You don't have to worry about your dog. You don't have to worry about your kids. You don't have to worry about pulling your car in out of the driveway. You don't have to worry, because we got to start at 6:30, 7 a.m. and you wake up at 9 for Pilates. Do you want to deal with that all week, or do you just want to go one day of being put out? And they go, yeah, what's that worth to you? And they start looking at it, and I don't want to, you know what? And then you present your product and go, well, everything I'm talking about sounds like you want to do business with us. And they go, yeah. And then you go in for the kill and the sell, the hard close, or whatever your sales presentation and your approach is. You go for that. But that's another thing you put, another feather you put in your cap, because for people like me that only fly in the front of the plane, I'm buying service. And more people will pay more money for service as opposed to just the job. That's just me. There's a million different ways. There's other people that want to do it. And you're going to get guys out there and go, Will's an idiot. He doesn't know what he's talking about. People are not going to pay for that. Well, that's fine too. I mean, you can drive a Lexus or you can drive a Toyota. They're both going to get you there. They both are just as reliable. But I drive a Lexus. Well, I did. Now we drive a Jeep Wrangler, or a Jeep Wrangler. Wagoneer. The old family Wagoneer.
Yeah. So I think the customer avatar too, who you guys target, the more middle upper end homeowner is more likely to value service, right? And paying for that.
Do you really want to deal with somebody who's nickel and diming you, on your service? I don't. We go through our service calls, or our sales calls every morning, and probably once a month somebody will go, we're not doing business with the person. What's going on? All they would ask about is money. They didn't care about this, they didn't care about that. Okay, cool. What do you want to do? You want to pass on it? Okay, we'll pass on it. So there's people out there that aren't your customers. So they can't appreciate you putting together a system that makes their life easier while providing value to their home. That's probably not going to be your client. I can tell you it's not going to be my client.
What do you do when you guys decide a client's probably going to be a pain in the butt, you want to pass on it? How do you have that conversation?
We make it very clear. It's a Band-Aid. And that's a great question. So in the sales process, once they do, and I'll get one of our sales associates to go, I don't want to deal with this guy. Yesterday we got one. She was like, this guy's a racist. Okay, well, we don't need that. We don't need that. We just send it in and go, hey, you know what? This is not going to be a good fit for us. Now, that's before we get to sell. We have on probably about once a year this happens. Our crew will get on site, and somebody will come out angry because we got there at 6:50 instead of 7, like they said. Or we rang the doorbell and woke up the kids. Or, you ring the doorbell and the dog starts barking, and then that, wakes up somebody that wasn't. And we've gotten these situations where people are like, we can't park in our driveway. Well, I got to get all the tools out. Your driveway is, 200 feet long. I got to get the tools here. Yeah, you got to drag them back and forth. Okay. And then, we give, in this situation, if our lead walks on the job and he feels that this is not a good fit, we'll pack up and leave. We'll give them back their money and we'll walk away. If we feel that our crew is going to be disrespected at any time. And for a lot of guys, they'll sit here and go, well, you can't do that. I already took half their money. Well, we don't take a deposit. We don't take that big. We take a $500 deposit. I got no problem giving it back to them. We don't do any of that. Even though our contract says it's non-refundable, we give it back to them. We don't want any ties with them, and then we've had people who are like, all right, our lead, if we can't get a hold of the foreman because he's on a job walk or he's doing something, our lead will just go, you know what, this is not going to be a good fit for it. I can already tell. So we're going to go ahead and pack our tools, and then we're going to have the office refund your money today. And they go, no, you're not. Well, hold on. Then we'll get people that go, never. Hey, I'm sorry. And I got no problems walking away from a job because we make 70% gross profit. We do 7 houses a week, right? So we're in control of what we do and how we do it. So I don't let clients, customers, whatever you want to call them, control us. So if we ever had a point where we're like, this is not a good fit, we're very, very comfortable just walking away.
What an awesome word too, control, right? Because I think so many business owners live in fear of their clients, right? Of like whether or not they're going to get a bad review, whether or not they're going to lose the project to a low bid competitor. Like the client's fully in the driver's seat, which is why then it becomes this race to the bottom, commodity versus commodity, who can be the
Yeah.
cheapest, and ultimately just an unprofitable, miserable game. And you're instead,
Yeah.
you're in control. And I think people need to sit on that and think about it, because that mindset
Would hope
shift
so.
is everything, really.
It's, you're bringing up a great point. Obviously, I said it, but you're honing in on it. It's like control, right? If your client's controlling you, how are you getting the job done, right? If they're coming out there telling you how to do the job, how are you getting the job done? You don't work for somebody like that. But if you're out there doing what you just said, guys race to the bottom, right? This morning I get a call, or one of my sales come in. He goes, "We lost a job. I thought we had it. What happened?" The guy called and said, "Somebody's doing it for half price. They got a good reputation. They've been around 20 years." He's like, "What do you want me to do?" I said, "We lost it. That's just what it is." I said, "We lost it today. We're going to be fine." I go, "But the guy that did it for half price won it today, but he's not going to be fine. He's going to put himself into a position where he can't pay the bills and go out of business. You can't do these jobs for half of what we sell them at, and stay profitable and keep your head above water, right? So if you're out there charging a premium for what you do, right, that's the first thing, right? Second thing is that you create a crew and a culture of your staff that wants to stay around, that wants to do a good job, right, and then wants to be efficient. It doesn't matter what the client says. I'm going to give you a bad review. Cool. Well, we've created this system where I'm catching 3 or 4 reviews a week, 4 or 5-star reviews a week. I'm not worried about the 1-star because we decided to pull off the job. It wasn't a good fit because, Miss Mary walked out with her curlers in and we got them before she put on her face, and now she's angry. No, we don't need that. We'll walk away. I'll Yelp you all over. Great. Cool. Here, I'll send you the links. Yelp me, Google me, Facebook me. I'll make it easy on you. 1-star me. I got no problems with it because we're getting, 3 or 4 a week, right? So now I'm not held hostage by this person. I'm not in a position where I got to look at the guys and go, "Guys, we just got to shut up. We just got to deal with it. We got to go and do the job, man. Guys, just ignore. If there's a problem, just come to get me." Like, that's a horrible feeling to have. And I've been in that position in the past where I'm like, just get there and just, with your hat in your hand. "Yeah, I'm sorry, Mr. Customer. We should have never rang that doorbell. How dare us, let we were here. Oh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't use foul language when I slammed my thumb in that hammer. That was my mistake." We're not in, those days are gone for us. And if you guys, there's people listening and you're in that position, raise your prices, bring your standards up, and find a crew that wants to be with you guys, right? If you got constant reviews coming in, right, and you're charging a premium for what you guys do, and you're catching 65, 70% gross profit, you're not worried about a bad review that comes in unjust. You're not worried about somebody that comes out and acts like a dick to you and your crew and you got to work for it. You can walk away. That's a great feeling to have. I've walked away from a few jobs and I've had some of those people call me back, and I won't come outside. I promise. I'm sorry. I'll leave a check on the front door. You don't even have to look at me. That's a great feeling when you can pick and choose the jobs you want to do.
Do you go back?
I did one time.
Did it work out?
The first job I walked on. It was the first job I walked on. I'll never forget. Her name was Jane Leiter, and we prepped her fence and we got it going. I sent 2 guys to get moving on the paint job, and I get a call. Her son's here. "What's going on?" "Oh, he's popping mad." So I get on site and go, "What's going on?" And he said, "You're not doing it right. You got to roll this." And I said, "Well, no, that's not how you paint a fence." All of a sudden, he was an expert. And I looked at him and said, "Well, I don't work for you, and you're not a painter, so you know what you're doing." He kicks me off the job. "I'm calling the police. This is my mom's house." Okay. We had prepped that fence so deep, no other painting contractor wanted to deal with it. She had 4 come out to look at it. I know this because the neighbor had us paint her house. She gave us all the tea. We had prepped it so good to a point, but we only had half of it going. And so they were like, "We don't want to touch this." And I had a reputation because everyone knew me in that corner of town. they're like, oh, who did it? Oh, it was Will Battleborn. I'm like, oh, we don't want to mess with that. You know, they didn't, because it was me, my first employee who's still with me, who's bigger than me, and a good buddy of mine, like a brother who's just as big as me. And so everyone's like, we don't want to touch it. So
Not
this
worth
lady,
it.
nobody wanted it. She called me for a week straight crying on the phone. And I finally said, okay, answer the phone, said, Jane, there was never a problem. You could ask whatever questions. I'll leave the check on the doorstep. You won't even have to hear from me again. Will, I'm so sorry. My son won't ever come by again. We went back, had it done that day, and I said, are you happy? Let's look around. We went there. She was over the moon, paid me right there. That was the only time I ever went back. And then I told myself, I'll never go back again, because I don't want to put myself in a position of like exposing myself. If I go in there and then I start the job, because it could have went south again. If I start a job, the guy's a jerk, and then I'm sorry. We get there, and then one of my guys, trips and the paint spills, and there's a drop on there. We already saw their true colors. So, but this lady was a very, very elderly lady. I couldn't be loud. I had to talk very slow and shrink myself up. But from then on out, I was like, we'll never go back. As soon as we walk away from the job and don't even give us a second thought. Go ahead, 1 star me. I'm okay. I'll get over it.
Yeah, and I think once you figured out how they react to things, especially when nothing has happened, then how are they going to react when something happens?
Exactly. That should be a quote. You should quote that. If it's a big deal when nothing happens, what's it going to be when something happens? Yeah. That's the absolute truth about it, man.
Will, man, this was awesome. That was super insightful, brother. Another first time for the podcast. I haven't had that before. Is there anything else as we wrap this up that you want to touch on?
No, just again, man, if anybody's got questions, reach out to me. I was an ignorant fool too. And if you're looking around and you think you know it all, I promise you don't. I know about this business more than a lot of people. And there's even more people that know more than I do. So I look to them. And if you've got questions and you're a dude and you're painting and you're fully tattooed and you're bald and you're scary looking and you're out here trying to make it, I can promise you there's an opportunity for you, because I didn't think there was for me. I thought I was just going to be painting and go back to the bar business. Now it's my life and I don't want to do anything else. So if you've got questions, reach out. If you think you know it all and you just found out on this podcast, you don't, reach out. I've got no problems helping anybody that reaches out to me.
I love it, Will. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your time, brother. Another great episode in the books, man. If you want to learn more about the topics we discussed in this podcast and how you can use them to grow your painting business, visit paintermarketingpros.com/podcast for free training, as well as the ability to schedule a personalized strategy session for your painting company. Again, that URL is paintermarketingpros.com/podcast. Hey there, painting company owners. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give us your feedback. Let us know how we did. And also, if you're interested in taking your painting business to the next level, make sure you visit the Painter Marketing Pros website at paintermarketingpros.com to learn more about our services. You can also reach out to me directly by emailing me at brandon@paintermarketingpros.com, and I can give you personalized advice on growing your painting business. Until next time, keep growing.